If you are a fan of the Dive Bar Rockstar podcast and would like to help support the show, there's a great way that you can do that and start a new fashion trend. We have a new merchandise page on the website which features t-shirts and hoodies that are available for sale on Amazon. Just click on merchandise in the top menu and all of the links will be there, or go directly to divebarrockstar.com/merchandise. Get started early on your Christmas shopping at divebarrockstar.com. Welcome to the Dive Bar Rockstar podcast, a show exploring the lives and journeys of musicians and music professionals. I'm your host, Eric Baines. I play bass and sing with the iconic band Chicago, and I love talking about music. I hope these conversations will entertain you with some stories of what it's like in the world of music, as well as help you get where you want to be in the music industry. But above all, achieve your dreams. Happy New Year, everybody. It is now 2026, and this is the first podcast of the new year, the first episode, so I'm very excited. And it's also the 50th episode of the Dive Bar Rockstar podcast. I didn't think I'd ever get here. You know, it's taken me a lot longer than I thought, honestly. I started this podcast in 2020, so this 6 years later, 5.5 probably. And I think I did 29 episodes in my first year. Every week, every Tuesday it came out. But then COVID ended, and it's been sort of 3 to 5 or 6 every year since. So it's been busy, and I'm grateful for that. You know, I try to squeeze them in while I'm on the road with Chicago or whenever I can. And this time I got to do a really cool interview with my friend, which I will get to in a minute. I talked last time, I think, about making a record, and I've been talking about it online, and I have made a decision about that. It's been really challenging just being a parent and a husband and having a house and, you know, the holidays, and trying to squeeze in producing an entire record has been really, really challenging. So I've decided, and since this is sort of what people do now anyways, is I'm just going to put out singles. I've got 12 songs, so that's about a year's worth if I do once a month for now. And if I, we do have certain breaks in the year that I can work on things. If I can get more than one done, then maybe the entire record will come out, you know, after a few singles. But if not, then I'm just going to keep trying to keep up with putting out a song once a month. That's my goal. We'll see what happens. Everybody makes big plans at the beginning of the year, and we just see how they turn out by the end. But that's my goal. I'm calling this the year of new music, so I'm hoping that it brings good things, and at least I just get some of the stuff out of my inbox. Some of the songs I wrote a long time ago, years ago, and others are brand new. I probably wrote 9 brand new songs for this. So it'll feel good to start putting them out. And if you're a fan, follow me on all of the social media things and Spotify. And if you'd like to donate to the project, which honestly would move it along faster if I could hire somebody to do some mixing and, you know, hire players and stuff, I have a donate button on divebarrockstar.com and ericbaines.com, and also on my Spotify page. You can go there and click that and donate whatever you'd like if you'd like to, but, you know, no pressure. It's just an option. Luckily I own a studio, but there are a certain amount of costs that go into making a record. But most importantly, when the tunes come out, go spin them wherever you listen. Go listen. You know, if you dig it, spin it. That's my new motto. Just to bring back an old, you know, saying. I don't think anybody spins music anymore in any sort of way. Maybe a hard drive. I don't even think those spin anymore. It's archaic. But that's me, and that's the music that I'm making. So you might, if you understand that term, you're probably going to like the music that I'm putting out. And the first one of those songs comes out January 20th. So the song is called Lonely Places. You can hear some snippets of it on social media. So check it out. And I'll give you some inside information since you're listening to the podcast. It'll actually be up on Sunday the 18th if you want to get the first earshot of it. I also wanted to tell you that I've been stepping up my TikTok game. So I'm putting out some TikToks, kind of on the daily. If you want to learn more about what I do and about the business and get, the first announcements of new music and things like that. And I'm talking about the process of making this record and just sharing all kinds of stuff. And some of it's going to be sort of an extension of this podcast, maybe a little more topical and not so interviewee. But check me out on TikTok if you are on there, and if you're not, check it out. I don't know, TikTok, it's addicting as heck, and I have grown to love it so much. But I'm getting in the game, so let me know what you think of that, and like and comment and follow everywhere. I'm also doing some YouTube shorts and everything, so it's going to be a big year. I'm pushing to do more of my own stuff. I'm very grateful. Chicago's got a really busy schedule again this year. We're going out this summer with Styx. It's going to be incredible. So I'm grateful for that as well. And I try to do some of these podcasts when I'm on the road as well and keep up with it. So thank you for being a fan. And that's what's going on with all of that. It's a lot. I've been busy. I don't sit around much. My guest today is a dear friend of mine who I've known a very long time. She's a professor of ear training at Berklee College of Music, where I attended. And we talk about that a lot on this podcast. She's got a couple of records of her own original music out, and one of them is still streaming, so you can check that out. But she's recently written a book called The Modern Creative, A Practical Guide for 21st Century Artists. And I'm very jealous. I would love to write a book. I don't think I have the discipline for it. It's so much easier for me to just rap into this mic and bore y'all. But anyways, the book is all about making your living as an artist in several different fields, and but anything creative, and I happen to be interviewed in it. So check it out. If you want to hear even more about me, you can read the book, and it's a little more in depth about like the business and money and things like that. But it's a really cool book. It's kind of got a workbook vibe to it, and it talks about some really practical things and some really usual things that people don't think about, like mental health and alternative ways of funding your project, like grants and things. So it's a really interesting book, and you'll probably get a lot out of it if you are interested in making your living in any sort of creative way. It's available right now on Amazon. And so I hope you get a lot out of it. She's amazing. She's an incredible singer and songwriter. So check out her music as well, and we'll talk all about it. But please enjoy my conversation with Kaye Kelly. Well, we've known each other since the 6th grade, I think. Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Broomfield Heights Middle School.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Killing it.
Miles away from Broomfield.
Yeah, but it's great. It really is so lovely to connect this way.
Yeah, for sure.
As we've both aged and our careers have taken off and gone in different places, it's really meaningful to come back around and connect here and then. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, for sure. So do you think growing up in Broomfield was a good thing? How do you feel about it? Has it done you well throughout life?
I don't know. No one's ever asked me that. Yeah, I mean, for stability, we were really privileged to grow up in a town that had a community and a community center and routines and rituals that we grew up around. I think, we were really lucky in that sense. I never really think too much about it. I left early, as you did. I moved on at 17 or 18, and I didn't go back. It's funny because living in Massachusetts, I live in the suburbs in a town that feels like it could be Broomfield. a lot of similar things, but things I have learned to appreciate now in my older age, like a community and having things that bring community together and being able to make community connections, which also sometimes are musical connections or like networking connections, just through the broader arts and culture. It's allowed me to do some arts and cultural initiatives that I probably wouldn't have done in my life if I didn't live live here, and we definitely thought about living in the city. We thought about moving to Boston and living there. I think
Mhm.
ultimately this was a good choice for us.
Well, that's great. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think I ended up the same way. I joke that we moved to the Broomfield of Tennessee.
yeah.
So I think once,
Maybe all the suburbs feel like that. I don't know.
yeah, maybe so. All the good ones.
All the good ones. Yeah. I mean,
It's
again,
safe. It's great for kids.
yeah. And as I learn more and see the world in a bigger picture, I realize that not everybody gets that deck of or that hand of cards. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful that we were given that mostly stable start, even though I know both of us had ups and downs in our childhood. Like we did grow up in a nice community, which was there for us.
Yeah. But still Gen X, and I don't know, I was like a latchkey kid and was allowed to run around freely. And we had an,
Absolutely,
you know,
absolutely.
but in a safe, I think it's even more important in that environment to be in a safe place if your parents are just going to be like, okay, get out of the house.
Yeah, I remember crawling in my garage door window to get in the house one time. I mean, yeah, we were just on the loose, on the run. Just
Yeah, it's
way
pretty
different
awesome.
generation. I think we're a really resilient
Yeah.
generation. I think
Yeah.
we have a lot of hustle and grit that other generations after us
Yeah.
may not
Which is
have.
good if you're going to be in the music business, I think.
It is it a necessary thing? I see this kind of anti-hustle
uh,
buzz word or I don't know, thread kind of threading itself through social media, and I'm like, great, that's great. We don't want to move away from the hustle culture, but I feel like if you're going to be an artist, yeah, sorry, that doesn't apply to you.
yeah, I think that's right. I
I
remember
think
being in the, sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I just think if we have young artists, I'll try not to use a particular generation, but if we have young artists that are moving into the field, and I've already seen this, that have this kind of sense of entitlement, or it's not going to go well. That's not a sustainable way to be in a career. That word gets around quickly, and you will be out of a job very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, when I first got out of college, I used to kind of fret about that a lot, that they don't teach you that in college. And maybe 10 years after, somebody said, well, yeah, but that's kind of what the world is for. And it's sort of like, you know what, you're right. You're going to figure it out or you're not. And there's got to be some sort of filter system, because there's so many people that would love to have a career in music, but you know there's definitely some hoops you're going to have to jump through, and some stuff you're going to have to learn that maybe college doesn't even have time to teach you, because you still need all that theory and you still need all that skill and you still need all those things. I don't know.
Yeah, I do think there's a time and place for everything, but even college students sometimes have one foot in the professional world as well. Sometimes I see that working really well. I see faculty sometimes that are younger, and I'm like, wow, how is this going to work for you? Just there's a real difference between the generations.
Yeah.
The grit, the level of professionalism
Mm,
that I see. So I do think it all sorts itself out. And I'm
right.
grateful for that. I'm grateful for that, because I mean, not everybody should pass through those gates.
Right.
Just like college, just it's not meant for everybody. That's fine. That's totally fine.
Right.
It all kind of sorts itself out.
Yeah, for sure. So I remember walking through the hall in Broomfield High School, and you were talking about, like, I want to do something crazy. I like go to Africa or something. And then you like went to Africa. I
I
always thought that was pretty cool.
I did do that. I did do that. I did that for reasons you might have not known at that time, but
Mm.
my dad was a big he volunteered a lot in our community for all kinds of things, and we always had a Rotary student living with us for much of my
Mm.
childhood. We had someone from Denmark, someone from Brazil. There was always like an extra person living in our house. And, as you know, my dad passed away early. And when I was in
Mm.
high school, and I felt like that was something I wanted to do. I don't know. I don't know if I knew that at the time, but I wanted to honor him a little bit. So I wanted to do that. I think it was a great. I am in shock now that I'm a parent that my mom let me do that. I'm like,
Speaking of
no,
Gen X.
right. I think about, goodness, I don't know if I could let my kid go to South Africa for a whole year, but in my 50s, like I'm still in touch with my friends and my family's there, and I've been able to see several people
Wow.
that I lived with. Even this year, I saw one of my host moms was in New York City. I went down to spend the day with her, and it was so amazing just to have those connections. I grew up so much in that year, and I think it helped me just see the world in a different lens than I would have if I just grew up in Broomfield, Colorado, which, as we know, is kind of like a one slice, a Wonder Bread. It's like there's not a lot of diversity or diversity of thought there. So I'm so glad I did that, and I experienced all kinds of things I never would have experienced otherwise. I hope someday, before the end of my days, I get to go back to South Africa.
No, that's cool. And you were outside of Johannesburg, or you
Yeah,
were?
yeah, Johannesburg, but I was able to travel across most of the country
Oh, that's cool.
during that year. So yeah, it was amazing. It definitely shaped me as a person, and I don't think I knew that till I was like, again, much later in my life, how much
No.
that shaped me.
Well, yeah, travel. It's important.
Yeah, everybody should. Highly recommended. We would have a
Yeah.
much different country right now if more people got out of their towns and cities and went and met other people from
Yeah,
different places and had different perspectives. And I think it would change the way we all think.
definitely. And then you came back and you went to the University of Miami.
Yes, I did.
And how was
Got my
that experience?
degree there. It was fine. I did not have a great college experience in terms of making connections, but I got a great education. What I lacked there, I think, has shaped who I've become, because what I didn't get there was career help or a bigger vision of what I was going to do in the music business. I just got a lovely degree in basically singing. A very practical degree, right? I
Right,
got
right.
my degree. It had some long title, jazz and contemporary vocal studio singing. I don't know, something like that. But no one ever. There was never a discussion of what happened after college. So that is a great recipe for a nervous breakdown, and I think that has changed a lot of things. I did not have a nervous breakdown, but I could have. I was just totally. It was very anxiety ridden time. Like, what are you going to do next? And I didn't know. And I have that entrepreneurial spirit in me, like you do. So I
Mm.
was hustling already. It wasn't anything I really wanted to do. I could play the piano, so I was like, took a job playing piano at a Catholic private school. It was steady money, and I was
Mm.
singing in wedding bands, and that was my bread and butter. But I had nobody ever talked to me about what my future could look like. So I think that's really shaped who I've become, and I think it's shaped why I wrote a book this year. Just I wish I would have had a book, a person, a person to say, like, let's look at the bigger picture. And these are like 25 things that you could do in the creative industry. I wish someone would have looked at me more holistically as an artist, as a creative human, rather than just a singer.
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
that would have been really helpful and set me up for success. Instead, I just, got my degree and left and was like, holy shit. What do I do now? What do I do now? I remember my mom saying to me, honey, you can just you're so good. You just send your letter and your things to Broadway, and just, you know, uh, feeling like that, like I couldn't even respond to that.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I did
that's
get
pretty funny.
lucky in that within that first, you know, couple months, that really hard part right after college, when I was again playing piano for a Catholic church and singing in wedding bands and like frantically figuring out ways to pay my way through life, I auditioned for Disney World, and that was through some networks, some people I knew from University of Miami, and I didn't get a call back for that. So I didn't hear anything from them. So I moved on. I think I moved on and actually took that piano job. And we had started and signed a contract, and like really within the first, I don't even know if I made it through 3 weeks of that job. And I got a call from Disney, and I remember telling them, I'm sorry, I can't take that job because I just started one here playing, playing piano. I just had a contract, and I'm really grateful for whoever that person was on the phone, because they said, "Are you sure? You couldn't like consider putting that, maybe moving on. This seems like a much bigger opportunity." I am a woman of my word, so I didn't occur to me that I could back out of that.
Wow.
Even at that young age, like if you say yes to something, you've said yes to it. So I'm really grateful for whatever that conversation was like, that someone said, maybe you should consider quitting and moving to Orlando. So I did do that. And I stayed there for maybe 2.5 years. And that was a really good, experience for me. My voice grew up there. I was not prepared as a vocalist to sing 7 or 8 shows a day.
Right.
But it was great. It was a great way to have that professional experience. It was corporate entertainment, which I don't love. And I didn't love then. I was very expendable. There were always, I sang in a really prestigious group at Disney World, and there were 1,000 people that would have liked my job. So it was clear to me, it was made clear to us, like, yeah, you can just be out of here in like 2 seconds. So I was used a lot. I mean, to sing, like, okay, someone else is out sick. We need you to do this. We need you to do this. And I was young and stupid, and I ended up hurting my voice in that first year. I should have known, but again, I was very young. There were like 4 singers out on vocal rest. So I was filling in for them, and I was very much the yes girl. I was the youngest there. I was new.
Right.
I wanted to prove myself, and I ended up hurting my voice, pretty badly. I had to take a big vocal rest, and that was a lesson, a good lesson about not being a yes girl. I stayed there. Again, it was a great experience, but I really didn't fit in there. There were so many parts of me that didn't fit in there, and it was clear that I needed to move. I came up to visit a friend in Boston, and I just knew. I was on the subway, and someone had blue hair, and someone else had a nose piercing, and someone had Birkenstocks on, and I was like, oh, I think this is where I need to be. And I had a high school friend, Carrie Knutson, lived here, and I moved up here, and I moved in with her for a couple of weeks until I could get on my feet. And I went to grad school, and grad school, I didn't go to grad school really because I knew what I was doing. It just was like a next step. It was like, I didn't know what to do, and that seemed like a good next step since I didn't know what to do. In hindsight, I'm like, wow, that was an expensive choice, which I paid for 20 years after. But ultimately, that did push me along my way. It put me it put me in a network in Boston. When I graduated, same thing. No talk about what happens next. At that point, I was older. I made an album like right after I finished my graduate degree. I really in jazz vocal. I realized that I was going to do something else, which is fine. And I always think that's a good thing to tell people. Like, I finished my entire graduate degree in jazz voice and some jazz pedagogy, but as I was finishing that degree, I just felt like there wasn't room for me here in Boston. There were other female singers doing the same thing I wanted to do, and it's not a big town here. And I had started songwriting, and I was feeling like, wow, I'm kind of good at this. I was getting some feedback, and I don't know, pretty quickly, I wrote a whole album, and I had met some people, and I don't know, wish I could go back to that time, but within 6 months, I think I wrote an album and we recorded it. And I thought I was going to go on tour. I had a brand new album. I was making plans for that and trying to figure that out alone. Like, how do I do this? Which it would have been great to have some classes about how to do that. And I sang backups for someone at a really, really big concert. And afterwards, someone at Berklee came up to me and said, you should send me your resume. And I was like, okay. It was the chair of the ear training department at that time. And I didn't know much about ear training. But he must have seen something in me. Ultimately, that person went to bat for me. I did apply, and I got that job, and I learned really quickly how to do things I didn't know how to do, like read music, which I
What?
did not.
You mean
I
you had
mean,
a bachelor's degree in
I had a
singing
bachelor's degree
and
with,
studio
how much
singing?
did that cost me? A zillion billion dollars. I did not know how to read music. We did have
Wow.
some classes, but there was really no curriculum about how to
Hmm.
read. Again, I feel pretty strongly about that now after I've been teaching for 25 years.
Mhm.
Vocalists kind of get the shaft. We are trained really differently than instrumentalists in so many different ways. So I had to learn quickly. And I started my job at Berklee a week into the semester. I got
Hmm.
really lucky that someone else was moved to another department and they needed a professor, and I moved in and I worked my ass off. I was a week ahead of my students for that whole semester, and I really taught myself how to read in that 4 months.
Wow.
We use solfege and we use conducting as methods how to read. You went through some of those classes, and it
Yeah.
was far superior to anything that I had learned because I did have a really good ear. I always did as a kid, but I didn't have a
For sure.
system. I really kind of air pianoed what I was hearing. If you ever watch me, even now, if you watch me sight read, I still play the piano in the air while I'm sight reading. And I kind of understood numbers 1, 4, 5, 3, 4. So I kind of understood that, but I really had no method. So learning solfege, and it was like
Wow.
being age 28 and taking all the musical experience and all the things that were in my head and relearning it, reframing it all within a system. It was very difficult, but
Wow.
I'm so grateful that I had the chance to do that because now I teach students that are 18, 19, 20, 21 how to do that now before their or while their ears are developing. And it's a painful
Yeah.
process for them too, but your brain is so much more malleable when you're 18. You don't know as
Yeah.
much, so you're
Yeah.
able to jump into that. At age 28, it's pretty hard
Yeah.
to
I also
do it.
think you're just coming out of high school, so you understand how a classroom works. You're used to learning things, As soon as you get out of that, it's sort of hard to go back, I feel like.
Very hard. It's
But
like
that's
kind of like,
interesting because I showed up there too, and it's not a humble brag, but like tested into ear training 3,
oh wow.
having never been had any solfege other than
Yeah.
the sound
But
of music.
your ears
And
were good. Your ears were
yeah,
good. We
but it
still
was
do
the
that.
same experience of like, and the ear training 3, you started getting into like the fees and the
Yeah.
maze and the
Yeah.
all the inner stuff, and I'm like, all I know is Julie Andrews, and
Yeah,
it's
it's very
tough.
stressful. It's very stressful. So I teach a lot of those classes now, freshmen that test higher. And
Hmm.
it's stressful. I spent the whole semester this year. I have a banjo player who has incredible ears, and banjo players generally don't read music. That whole culture of music is
Right,
by
for
ear,
sure.
and just him saying, "I can't do this. I cannot do this. I am in the wrong place. I'm in the wrong class. I'm at the wrong school." And me saying, "You have excellent ears. We're just going to keep going, keep going, keep going." And he figured it out.
Wow.
It's such a gift to be able to lead someone along that path. And really, a semester is really only 4 months if you think about it. But
Mhm.
to share that with someone in that small period of time and teach them, like, you have excellent ears. We just need to attach it to this other framework, and you're going to be twice the musician now. That doesn't mean you'll always need it. If you go into bluegrass, you're not going to be reading music for the most part.
Mhm.
But if you go into bluegrass and something else, and I am a person that feels deeply that moving into creative careers right now, you need to be able to do multiple things, multiple things. So to be able to read music and play music where you don't have to read, it's great. All of it's good. The more, the better. The
Yeah.
more,
The more you can do, the more gigs you can take. That's what I've
absolutely,
always
absolutely.
said, for sure.
And more money in your pocket, more money to retire with, all of those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, and I think there's a thing like I just remember the idea growing up that like college was to learn and to be a better person. Now you go to college to make money. Like if it doesn't suit some sort of direction financially, then I don't want to know it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to,
Yeah. Yeah.
being a well-rounded human, it was always what education was about to me.
Well, and I think definitely the generation before us and before that, like that was why you went to college. It was like almost like a finishing school, and it's really changed. And I'm constantly changing my mind about it. And I have a lot of feelings now about art school and how much we're charging to students to go through. But also I do still feel like there's that finishing piece of it. And in America, particularly since COVID, that's a whole other conversation, but students are younger, not coming to college younger, but like maturity wise, love your cup. Mine has been no drama llama.
Nice. I have a Boston cup just for the listeners.
Very nice.
I just realized, sorry to interrupt you.
No.
That was totally unintentional.
We have younger students coming to Berklee, and I don't mean younger in age. I mean younger.
Yeah.
They still need some hand holding. I teach a lot of freshmen. I love teaching freshmen, and they're not all baked yet. They're not quite finished baking. They need that finishing school. At the same time, they need to learn stuff and learn music and things. So I definitely have some opinions at this point about music school. And of course, we have students that are not like that and are ready to go. And I almost feel like we need different tracks. We need a trade school track. Like
I always kind of said that after going there as well. It was like, if you don't know what you're going to do, it's a tricky school. But maybe that's any college. I don't know. But I'm like, if you know what you want out of it, then you're going to get a lot more for your money, and I didn't graduate, I went for 3 semesters, but each one I sort of took the classes I wanted to. I treated it a little more like a trade school,
Yeah. I mean, I think I feel like we need to have a trade school track there for students that are ready and know what they want to do. And I need to put our American students down. There are certainly some that come ready, but our international students are often more mature, musically more ready. And we have adults, older students that go to Berklee too. And I feel like we just need that professional track. You want to play, you're ready to tour, you want to be a performer. Boom, let's do this in 2 years and get you out of here.
Yeah.
Less money. And you don't know what you want to do, and you want a formal degree, which, there is something to be said from that. You have to take liberal arts classes and maybe a math class and classes that still help you inform your critical thinking skills and your learning how to read music and understand theory. There's a place for that too. And there's a price tag that comes with that. So it's, it's a tricky thing. But
so at some point, did you decide you were going to teach versus perform, or that just sort of happened?
I am a person, I feel like, that needs security. I needed, I don't know that I need, well, I think I did know that at that age. I needed financial security. I was single. I knew I was going to be taking care of myself. I was really invested in that idea that I needed to pay my own way, figure things out. So when I was offered that job at Berklee, that was a big yes. And I felt like that was such a stroke of luck in my life. And of course, with not only with a steady salary, I got health insurance and a retirement fund. And and I met colleagues. I met so many people that were great musicians that I wouldn't have known otherwise. So that for me was just, I was pretty set there. I met my husband, I think my second semester there, and I think my life just moved along. And it really wasn't until my 40s when I thought, like, I think I could do some other things. And I spread out a little bit. There was definitely a feeling, I just think that's part of my childhood. My family went bankrupt when I was in my teens. And I feel like that need for security, and when you're at Berklee, most faculty are part-time, which means you could be expendable if something in the country, a recession happens. And I was always aware of that. It took me 21 years to get a full-time job there. Insane.
Wow.
So yeah. And about year 18, when I could not seem to get that full-time job, it is like a goal. It's like a lottery ticket. I'm so lucky I got it. I think I held on to that. Like, I'm not going anywhere. But as as we got to getting close to year 20, I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. Maybe I don't want to stay here. And I did start looking elsewhere. And I've as I became more confident in things that I wanted to do. So I definitely have had those ideas of moving elsewhere. That might still happen. I certainly have lots of things I feel like I could do. And I have lots of ideas still. I feel like
you're now an author.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a big deal.
Thank you.
Is this your
I
this is
you know,
your
I
first book that you've written?
this is my first book, and it's very much geared to the things we're talking about for
Yeah.
artists and emerging artists, and just a bigger holistic view of how to set someone up for success in a creative industry, any creative industry. And I feel like it's timely. It's timely. Like,
Hmm.
the world is changing. The gig industry is shrinking. We have far fewer ways to sell music. It's just really frustrating, and I feel like we need to wear many hats. So I
Oh
feel like
man.
teaching that is a good thing. Setting that expectation out, because sending a kid to music school or art school where they think like, okay, I'm going to make my way this way, and really, we 1% of those students are really doing what you're doing, Eric Baines. Like 1% of students are going to make that be able to happen.
Hmm. Hmm.
So what about the other 99%? How can we set them up for healthy, happy lives in the creative industry? I think that's just such an important,
Yeah.
such a bigger lens that we need to be looking through. So, and I've always been into arts and culture and in my community, and I have thought a
Mhm.
lot about leaving Berklee and maybe trying to become an executive director of a arts and cultural center. Sometimes I think in my future I might build that out. And
Yeah.
right now I'm looking ahead in terms of just a little bit of a career change. I'm still singing and performing, but I don't know, I'm feeling a little bit less. I don't want to do that quite as much. I'm feeling really pulled now to find speaking opportunities, places where I can put myself in audiences, where I can sell my book and talk about some of
Yeah.
the topics we're talking about. So I'm really looking into that. I'm hoping 2026 brings me a TED talk. That's my
Yeah.
goal,
Oh,
to make
nice.
happen.
That's a good
And
goal.
to see if I can find speaking opportunities at conferences, arts and creative conferences, and maybe
Mhm.
colleges, and trying to move along that way. I am still playing. I'm playing with my husband now. He plays the Chapman stick, so we've made a duo called Stickman Blue, and
That's cool.
some plans for that. But I've dropped some of my other performing responsibilities. I think I used to run a band called She Grooves, which
Hmm.
was an all-female band, and that I did that for a couple of years, and that involves songwriting, arranging
Hmm.
rehearsal, booking gigs, filling out the contracts,
It's fun.
sometimes bringing the sound system, wrangling musicians, the whole thing. And I did that, and I hate to admit it, but it really did kind of burn me out. Like, okay,
Oh
I'm
man.
done. I was very happy to say, like, I am, I don't need to do that again.
Yeah. Well, that's how I started. So I did that for a bunch of years, and then I burned out really hard. And I was just like, you know what? I want to play my bass. I want to show up. I want to set up. I want to play my bass. I want to get paid, and I want to go home.
Yeah.
That's all, all I'm going to do for a
Yes.
long time. It's hard. It's very hard, especially when you get into like subbing out musicians and who's going to be. I mean, it's just there's just an
I
endless
think
amount of
this,
work to do.
I think the subbing portion, what you just said, was the straw that broke the camel's back. If
Yeah,
I never have to sub someone out of another gig again, I will be happy. So the thought of
yeah,
playing with my husband, where I never have to set up a rehearsal date, find a
right.
place that we can rehearse.
Yeah,
Um, the thought of not having to worry about paying someone or owing someone money. Like,
yeah,
okay, I did a lot of those were grant sponsored gigs, and
right,
um, I write a lot of grants for all kinds of things, and like not being responsible. Like if my husband and I make a little less money on a particular gig, like who cares? It's
right.
fine. Maybe
Yeah,
it all evens out. Maybe we'll get paid better for a different thing, and just the pressure is so much different. So that feels really good to me right now. So yeah, and
yeah.
because he plays a unique instrument, he plays the Chapman stick, and
Hmm.
I think he's the only player in Massachusetts that does that. Certainly,
Wow.
it's a good
Very cool.
niche for us to perform in. So
Mm-hmm.
I really love that. I don't know if
Cool.
you know much about the Chapman stick, but it kind of serves as two instruments.
I
So
weirdly do,
you
because
do?
the first person that I ever played with, his name's Chuck Hughes, and Chucky and the Cyclones from Denver, and he was a huge. He knew Emmett Chapman, and was a Chapman stick. So we would do weddings, and he would do dinner music on the Chapman stick. And this was 1992, So I kind of do know about it. Weirdly enough,
That's crazy. We play gigs and people are like, "What is that?" I will say, if you're listening today, it functions as a much fuller instrument. It functions as a bass, and you could consider the other part of it a guitar or just a melodic instrument. So it's one
right,
instrument that takes care of both of those parts. So when you're singing over that, it's so much fuller, and it's a really different experience than just singing behind an acoustic guitar.
right,
It
right,
feels almost like singing with a trio, and
right. Yeah,
we're doing some percussion stuff as well, so it almost is like a trio. So
yeah.
yeah, everything about moving forward, this feels
Well, that's cool. And
easier.
you're kind of like tapping on it, so you've got both
Yeah,
hands working the thing at once. So you really kind of do have a trio. You got a bass and
yeah,
a
yeah.
guitar or a piano or a harp.
Yep.
Sometimes it can sound like, or a but yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a
Yeah, and
unique instrument.
it's unique.
It has
Yep.
its own sound for sure.
And the melodic piece of it can be very rhythmic.
Mm-hmm.
So it allows us to do some more upbeat stuff. Yeah, it's just been it's been a good match. And again, like it just feels like I lost like 500 pounds of not having to. I'm still doing some booking, and have written some grants for us, but I'm not having to do everything, and it just feels so. And we're not performing all the time. Um,
Yeah,
it's good. It's a good place to be. I do want to
yeah,
keep performing. I don't want to let that piece go. I think it's important for me to. I love it, and I think it's important for me to keep my foot in the business. It helps me
for sure.
be relevant with my students about the gigging world, keeps my
Mm-hmm.
voice in shape, keeps me
Right.
writing. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but I'm not feeling the need to be definitely not singing in a wedding band every Saturday night, or even any band every Saturday night. I do enjoy
Yeah.
when it comes up. I do enjoy playing with my Berklee colleagues. I've got a group of them that are super fun to play with, and you know when the people on stage with you are great
Yeah.
and you trust them,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to rehearse and you can just stand there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, okay, this is cool. And it's what I meant to be doing. I've been doing it so long. It's not super stressful to even
Mm-hmm.
to lead it, even to be
Yeah.
the band leader for that. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. Well, it should be fun. Well, weddings are horrible. I did them forever and I can't stand
We
them.
can agree, but I think we
I
can
still
all
will do them. I will probably, get the call tomorrow now that I've said it out
now that you've
loud.
said it, now
But
that
it's
we've
a
both
great,
said
great money. And I don't know about
it.
Boston, but LA, it's like, it's great money. So I was in a wedding
I know
band.
you did it for a long time. It is great money, and I still think it's a great way to if you're a young artist or if you're an old artist, like it's a great way to bring some extra cash in. It's not
For
a
sure.
career. It's not a
Yeah.
career. If you want
Well,
to truly be an
it
artist,
can be if you want to. I mean, I know a lot
true.
of like session guys in LA too. Like it's like that's how they. I mean, maybe it's supplemental, obviously, but then I know other guys that just do it. And the thing is, you work on Saturday, and the rest of the week is kind of yours to write your music or to do whatever
Yeah,
else you
yeah,
want. So depending on the town, because in my wedding band we'd go on the road and stuff. So you go out of town, you can make
yeah.
$1,500 on a Saturday, and like you do that 4 times a month, and you're doing okay. You know what I mean?
Good. Yeah. Yeah. I guess I should renege that statement that it's not a career. It's part of a career because I do
Yeah,
think like if
yeah,
we think of a pie chart of a musician, that's a piece of the pie. And
yeah,
sometimes it's,
for
that
sure.
piece of pie can be really big if you want it to be, and it can
Yeah,
pay a lot of things. And if you're able to if you're able to put up with it, because there's a lot that goes along with it, it can fund you staying home the rest of the week and like
that's right. Yeah,
writing music and doing
exactly.
the
Yeah,
artistry that you want to do. So
yeah,
there's
and the
nothing wrong.
networking aspect is important too. Like,
Yep.
there's depending on the town you're in. I'm not sure, but like like I said, a lot of session guys do all that in LA. So if you want to be a studio dude and doing movie soundtracks and whatever, or a girl, sorry.
Mm, okay.
um, um, then it's a great way to network.
Absolutely.
Um, but you can definitely get trapped in it, especially if you're like, now the thing out there is like self-contained bands where they used to call them casuals, and you just get called, and whoever's available is going to be the group of musicians that does it. Now they have like their band,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you can get kind of stuck in one of those, and the money is good and just good enough, to where you're afraid to leave it, but at the same time, there's subbing out and there's all this stuff, and it's but just the general idea of playing weddings is I think it depends on, if you with a bunch of people that know that weddings are kind of bogus and this is just a job, then it's fun, then it's awesome.
Yes.
If you're with a bunch of people that think they're rock stars because they're playing for Dr. Phil's wedding, then it's a really tricky one for me.
Yeah. I think the good takeaways are quick cash.
Yes.
For a short gig in most cases, and the networking piece, because definitely you meet people and they call you as a sub, and it definitely when I lived in Miami, that's definitely how I met other musicians and got called for other gigs. So it's
and for instrumentalists, like the reading, like I was in a band that we did, like we had 1 million books, it was like the book was super thick and 143 go, you know what I mean? And like the skills that you acquire having to do that under pressure, like I don't know how you practice that other than that, you know what I mean?
You don't. I feel like it's a really good experience for a musician to have that. Because other places we can think of where that might happen would be other type of musician gigs, like a cruise ship, where you're also reading a huge book of music and it's really professional, or a Grammy band, or a Dancing Star band, or Saturday Night Live band, or something like that, where you have to be a good reader, you have to be on your toes, and of course, playing in a talk show band or something that's a great gig too. We see
or session stuff, in LA, there's still some left of, guys who are going in with an orchestra and reading, and it's high pressure. They're not interested in wasting money on wrong notes. You know what I mean?
No. Musical pits would be another place I can think of,
Broadway, and
that's a great way to make money. It's a great way to, those are, again, I think of that pie chart of like being an artist, being a musician, and because you and I are talking, we'll talk specifically about musicians, but if that pie chart that can be cut in so many different slices, but it's got a lot of slices, like maybe one slice is playing musical pits, and in Boston it works really well because we're so close to Rhode Island. So I know people that play, when Broadway tours come through, they'll play Wicked in Boston, and then when it goes to Providence, the company will take them with them to Boston, and that's possibly 6 to 8 weeks of steady income. And in the meantime, think of the other things that musician is doing. Maybe they're teaching lessons during the week. Maybe they're writing arrangements for their own big band, jazz band, songwriting. I mean, it's a piece of the pie. I think it's
for sure.
A valuable way to make a living as a musician, as long as you are smart about your money management and putting some of that away for retirement, and you really have a bigger picture in mind. I know that's something you and I have talked about before, and I feel strongly about, like, artists deserve to retire also, and we're needed in society. A lot of people think like, oh, well, that's really cute, you've gone into art and music, and get a real job. That's put on us as artists a lot. Get a real job. This is not a real job. And I ask those people, consider your life with nothing to watch on the TV, nothing to listen to on the radio, no public art. What if we just extracted everything, all of those things out of society? And
I know it's funny. I say that a lot too. It's like, it's not like people have stopped listening to music, but for some reason they've just stopped wanting to pay for it. Like, it's not like we have less of a need. If anything, there's more needs. There's more streaming services. There's more TV shows. There's more movies. There's all this extra need for it. And, but people just don't want to. I mean, on the other hand, music has gotten way cheaper to make. So there's, it's a tricky one. Like, it's not tricky. Like you've got to rent a studio out and spend $20,000 on 3 tunes, like.
I will say I am very proudly and loudly taking everything, all of my music and work down off of Spotify this week. I'm done.
Interesting.
I'm done with that. I'm going to become an advocate for musicians doing that, and we have to create that future for ourselves. I think you and I are in an age group where we did make CDs. You know, my first work of art was a CD that we sold. People bought it from me.
Mm-hmm.
I have 200 in my attic if anybody wants any, but I'll never sell. And I made a second CD. I'm still living in an era where we did that. So I have two CDs,
Mm-hmm.
you know, time where there was always a price like, hey, it's cheaper if you buy 500. So we all did that.
I
The
bought
half of those
1,000
are in my attic. And now I have nothing to do with those, you know, what am I going to do with those CDs now? And I can still create music, but not really for income. And I mean, that's not always the reason to make music, but it is for a lot of us. Like, yeah, I would like to be creating music and being paid for it. Yes, of course I would. And, you know, other ways that I would make music, like writing for sync writing, that is also being eaten up by AI. It's really
I think
frustrating.
that's going to be what falls, honestly.
Yeah,
it's all that the back runs.
How do we keep going here? How do we keep you know, and it's a bigger wave than I think artists can push back. It's like a tidal wave of like, okay, we're gonna stream your music for free. We're also gonna have AI create music, and you know, we're gonna get buried doing this. So I am very interested, and I definitely don't want to participate in that. I'm loudly going to say, you know, step off Spotify. I'm done with this. No, thank you. I'm not participating in that, and I'm going to strongly be an advocate for not using AI for music. I think we have to use our voices really loud as artists right now and say no, and also educate public. And you know, that's a hard thing to do because when something's free, care. Like even my students, I'm like, I refuse to put my brand new book online. My students are really frustrated by that. Like, can we not just get it online? And nope, you cannot, because once I put that online, that PDF gets shared immediately from like for between 3,000 students. And no, thank you. And my students are artists and they're young artists, but they have not been taught that yet. They don't know. Like they've grown up in an era where things are free. So I think like the education piece of that is important. Even though I'm not on a big giant stage, I have a small stage. I have a pretty active social media accounts, and I have college students, and I'm going to yell that from the rooftops. Like we have to advocate for ourselves as artists.
Oh boy. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to have an opinion about it, honestly, because I don't know how much power we honestly have. And that's the problem, is that we're fighting against a generation that grew up in this world of digital, you know, commerce. So it's not, and it's like, and I don't want to be also the guy that has a photo mat and doesn't realize that no one uses film anymore. So, you know, how are you going to exist in a world without film, you know? And you know, Spotify, as evil as it is, it's just not, to me, in my music, it's not about getting paid, because it's now it's a piece of the pie. It used to be a career, and now it's a piece of the pie.
Yeah.
You know, and I've been lucky enough to do some sync stuff, and you know, but my numbers are low, and sync is a numbers game, and so that's just another little piece of the pie. And Spotify, I don't know where else to go. You know, like, what am I going to do? You know,
just watch, because things are going to emerge. Right now, it's very trendy. You see it online everywhere. People are putting Spotify and speaking up about Spotify. And there's some great, even politicians are speaking up about Spotify. So just wait. Things are going to open up. Bandcamp, and that discussion is happening online. And I encourage people listening to seek that out, seek those conversations out, and see what will be created, because there will be a need. And I do think, whether it's our generation or the one below us, something will change. And in the meantime, we have to be flexible and adaptive, and you know, and patient, but also advocate. We have to advocate for ourselves.
Yeah, but I think at the end of the day, as an artist, the numbers are what matters, and the fan base is what matters. And how do you interact with that fan base? And whether you're making money off of those interactions or whether Spotify is or whatever, that all that is, I don't care. What I need is people streaming my music somewhere. And if that's Spotify, great, because it doesn't matter about those numbers. It doesn't matter about the cents that they're going to pay or they're going to make. What matters is like, can I connect with my 10,000 people that are going to eventually buy a CD, or buy a t-shirt. Maybe that's what I do now. Maybe I sell t-shirts. I don't know.
Yeah, merch.
But
I also,
it's about the branding of your situation,
Also, though, you and I are in our 50s now, and we both have income coming in, so we are not.
Yeah, for sure.
I think our opinion on that too, because Spotify, it's not bringing me money. It never brought me money. I don't, thank God, I have stable income coming in through other arts and cultural ways. Like if I was in my 20s, I would feel, I think this has a different feel to them.
But I don't think that's really different than any other time in history as far as making records, because in the 80s, there were 7 big artists, and all those same people that are not making money on Spotify but making music were still making music and not making any money. That hasn't really changed. It's just now you have an opportunity, though. Now, especially what I like about where Spotify seems to be going is it's turning more into a social media platform where you have more control over your page and what it looks like, and things like DistroKid make it a lot cheaper to get your music on there, and it's a lot faster. So now you have control of it, which is way different than any other time in history, because now that's the major platform and you get to decide what you look like on there, and there's no gatekeeping, so you're going to make the same amount of money as an independent artist in the 80s, which is nothing until you get noticed, you know what I mean? But you have access to the radio station, basically, you know what I mean? Back then you're not going to get played. You're going to get, you have to have a label. You have to have money behind you. You have to be getting screwed over by somebody to get there. Now you have control. You have you have a seat at the table. It's going to take you a second to get from the kid table to the adult table, but there's something, you know what I mean? You can control it, which I think that's a positive shift that Spotify's made, and I don't know. And ultimately it's all awful. Like, and it always has been. I think that's the other thing. This has never been a great business. It's not honest. Yeah. It's not, it's the old West, the guys with the bigger guns win. So guns meaning budget, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm just going to keep trying. I'm going to keep
for
trying.
sure.
Like, even with my book, I have it on Amazon. Mm-hmm. I don't want to have it on Amazon, but I know it's stupid not to have it on Amazon. So on Amazon, if anybody wants to buy it. But I'm definitely, when I have the opportunity, I am pushing people towards my website, kayekelly.com.
Yeah, for sure. kayekelly.com. I'll put it on the show notes.
If people buy it there, it goes through a different company, and that company still gets a cut as well, but I get a bigger cut as well. So at least I have some control over that. All of my money's not going to some big conglomerate. It's something. So I'm trying my best to make choices with integrity about how I want my art bought.
Yeah. Well, I do love the book. It's called The Modern Creative. We should talk more about it a little bit. Like, we've kind of hinted at it, but like, I do love that it's a very sort of balanced book about being a creative and making money at it, and different ways of making money. And it's a very, like, it rides that line of sort of new agey but practical, which I really love about it. It talks about mental health and things that people don't often discuss, but it also is like, make sure you have enough money to retire. So how long did it take you to write all that?
Not long. Not long. I think I just had it kicking around in my head for like a decade. I teach a class called Professional Developments at Berklee, and that is kind of a class that is geared towards older students that are getting ready to leave Berklee, a lot of prep about like what that life will look like. I take that class really seriously because I want my students to get what I did not get in college. So really, we're talking about career planning, like really seriously, like what is going to happen in that first 2 years out of school? What exactly are your plans? What are you going to do? So the practical
awesome.
piece of it, and the practical parts of the book there are career planning charts in there. There are discussions about budget and what kind of things you might need in a budget, things we don't think about.
Yeah.
Even as
Yeah.
adults, like it's hard when I say like, what kind of things do you need as an artist? Even things like you might need a subscription to something. Like I use Canva a boatload. I use it every day for like gig posters, lesson planning, Instagram posts. I use it all the time. It costs me $150 a year. So like that's in my budget, and other subscriptions that we might use to make music with. Things like this that artists need. Supplies, different types of supplies that you might need as a painter, as a musician, equipment that you might need to upgrade eventually. So there's budgeting in there. There's also a section on grant writing and alternative funding for artists, something that a lot of artists don't know about. So the practical piece, but I really enjoyed putting down on paper just the BS that gets put on our shoulders. It's taken me like 20 years to like find that all, kind of gather it, take it off my shoulders and put it into a book. Like people saying, get a real job.
Yeah.
Art is being an artist is not a real job. Only a few people make it. So you might as well not try, just there's so many messages we walk into this career with that are really backwards, that we would never say to an accountant.
No.
And I think it's a very heady thing. I mean, if you ask a lot of kind of mid-level artists, which I would consider myself, I'm not, touring with famous people, but I am living the life of a full-time artist. Like someone says, what do you do for a living? Like I pause and 200 questions come into my head. I'm a musician or I'm an artist. And I think this is true for most of us. We think like, how do I explain this to someone? We think, did I make enough art this year to be able to call myself that? Did what I make this year constitute something that would that I can call myself a musician? I mean, it's just total bullshit. Like you don't see again, accountants don't do this. We ask them what they're doing. They say, I'm an accountant, and we move on. Musicians or artists, what do you do for a living? And it's such a heady question. It's such a hard thing to answer. And we have a lot of it's a complicated story, especially when you are like a mid or high level artist where you do have multiple pieces of a pie. And I don't know, we have to get better about saying I'm a full-time artist.
Yeah.
Meaning using that word artist in a broader way. Artist meaning dancer, musician, writer. I'm a full-time artist, and being able to confidently say that and move on with the conversation versus like all the questions and the imposter syndrome and things that we go through, because we do. I think that comes along with being in a creative career. It gets looked down upon. We have a lot to offer. And there is money in the creative industry. And I think we should be supporting students and younger artists. Yes, join the creative industry. There is a place for you.
For sure.
But also being realistic that your place might not be in that 1 or 2% that are touring with Chicago. And that's okay.
And that's the thing.
And fulfilling life.
Right. And I would often wonder if I'd be happier not making a living doing it. Because then I would just be doing it for the right reasons, which is because I love making music. But
I think it's such a balance.
I don't always have that luxury.
Yeah, it's a luxury. Sure.
Either way, I got to make music. Sometimes it's great, and sometimes it's awful music. Sometimes
it's music you have to make because
it's just what I got to do.
Yeah, sometimes we get to make music because we have something to say, or we love it, and we need to get it out of us. And very few people just.
Well, speaking of music, I don't know how much time you have, but I wanted to talk about, you do have a record on Spotify, but you're taking it down. That's going to change my whole line of questioning. How else can I get your record? But let's talk about your record for a second, because I re-listened to it. I'm talking about Wide Open Road.
Yeah.
You had two, right? Didn't you have two records? But this one's on Spotify, so I was going to talk about that so that people could go read it or go listen to it. But I'm not sure what the future of that is. Does that include Apple, taking it off of Apple?
No, yeah, I'm really no. I think it'll stay up there. It's hard to take it off one thing and then why would you keep it? I don't know. I'm a works in progress here, but
because the other thing that I enjoy about Spotify, not now you're turning it into a commercial. Now I'm going to seem like I love Spotify, which is not necessarily true. But the another advantage of Spotify or the modern music industry is that this record came out 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but it's on there forever. It's not like it goes out of print and you'll never find another copy anymore. Like it's always good to talk about your music because people can always go find it. And that's the important part about this. That's the powerful part for us. All the money stuff to me doesn't really matter until you're selling millions of records. And how are you going to get to that level? Because I also used to joke around about it gets screwed over for the first part of your contract. The first record contract should screw you over because what you're paying for is the exposure and they're going to pay you for it, and you're going to be in debt for the rest of your life for it. But without that exposure, you're not going to be able to pay that debt back, and that's priceless. You'll finally be Kaye Kelly, and that will be a household word, and that's power. So anyways, I'm getting off on it again, but Wide Open Road. Beautiful record.
It is 10 years old. I hope, and I think I probably have another album in me. I'm just kind of waiting for the right time. It's definitely percolating. I definitely have at least 2 albums of music I could put together. But for right now, that's the last one. I had an EP after that I made that may or may not be on Spotify. Probably not. I wrote some music that was kind of geared for film and TV. And I might redo some of those tunes. So so right now, you can listen to it on Spotify, on music. You can find it on my website. It's out there. I don't push it a lot. I probably should more.
And so did you produce this record yourself?
I did produce that record. Yeah.
Because it's very lovely.
Thank you.
I do love it. It was fun going. I really think that you have a very unique sort of artistry in your songwriting and the way that this album presents itself. I don't know what the next stuff is or where you would be at if you put out an album now, but I really dig this album. It's a very interesting listen, I would say. You combine a lot of different influences in a pretty unique way, and your voice is amazing and unique. And did you weird question, this is kind of before auto-tune is huge. Did you tune that up, or is that just you?
That's just me. There are some parts that are tuned up a bit. Not
to out you or anything or be mad about it. I tune up stuff all the time, but
there were some. I recorded part of that in a studio at Berklee, and then when we got home to listen to it, there were some things that I wish I would have caught while we were recording. As these things happen, and there were some tempo issues that I found, and there were some tuning issues that I found with one instrument. So we did have to record some of it over at home.
Gotcha.
So it was definitely a patchwork put together. But that was before autotune. Definitely have used autotune more.
Your voice is incredible. It should be heard more. I think this is a good example of amazing songwriting and amazing singing and something unique, and that's the tricky part as a producer too. Just talking, if someone comes to me and says, produce my record, it's like, well, I want to find out who you are and what you do that's different than anyone else. Cause that's all I care about. I'm not going to remake a Lady Gaga record. You know what I mean?
Another day, another glance, another reason just to pass my way. Another thing to keep me up at night. Another call, another dance, another smile your way to make this. What's it gonna take to make this feel alright? You can search for something shiny and new. I'm gonna plant my feet in front of you. So if you're going my way and I'm going your way, don't you think you'd find a way we could work it out and
And I think you have something very unique and cool. I don't know. Do you feel that way about yourself?
Yeah, I do have a really unique voice. It's not I learned that kind of the hard way, to be honest, because I got fired, replaced in a wedding band in my 30s, and that was difficult. And I think now I can look at that and be like, that's not the worst thing. I can't. My voice is not one that can really kill on Aretha Franklin covers. As I've gotten older, I'm like,
Interesting.
well,
Yeah.
that is okay. Like in your
Yeah.
20s, you feel kind of bad. Like I can't, can't be this, I can't be that. I wish I could do this. And now I'm like, why didn't someone just tell me it's okay? Like I do have a really unique voice. It's not meant to sing Aretha Franklin. It's meant to sing Kaye Kelly.
Right. That's right.
And it's unique. If you are a listener of Sean Colvin, that is somebody who was a big influence on me. And her voice also is super unique, and also probably wouldn't cover Aretha Franklin, or could in her own way.
Right. Yeah.
I think it took me a really long time to be comfortable with the fact that I could not be everything, and that I had something really special with my own voice. So it's really kind of taken me my lifetime to get that way. So yeah, I am happy with what I can do, and I do feel really grateful. I was given a gift, and yeah, it's nice that the stuff I'm performing now is so exposed because it's just my voice and the Chapman stick. So I really get a chance to show off vocally, and
nice.
I don't have a particularly like loud R&B voice, so it's what I have is great in that setting. It is just Chapman stick or jazz trio or something smaller. Like my voice works really, really well with that. And I find I'm able to say like, and that's where I shine. And I wish I could let that go like 20 years ago, where I felt badly that I couldn't pull off like Aretha Franklin really well. Cause again, I'm not Aretha Franklin, and that's okay. So yeah. And I do love writing. Again, I've got some things that I feel like I really got into the idea of commercial songwriting. And I think even if I'm not trying to write something commercial, I do write commercially. My stuff tends to be very hooky. I have a good sense of melody. I don't know where, and a good sense of symmetry. It just comes together fairly easily for me. So yeah, I think there's more to come, and I think my older, experienced writing voice, I'm kind of excited to think about like what this could be, what this might look like moving on. I have to say, the stuff I'm writing right now, I'm not sure anybody wants to hear, because I'm writing a lot of, for lack of a better word, kind of protesty songs, which is a thing. It was a huge thing in the 60s and 70s. I am a very I opinionated, strong voice, and a lot of that is coming out in my songwriting. I have a lot of feelings about immigration right now, and the way that we're treating one another, and I do have a lot to say. I'm hoping I'm working potentially on a video project next year where I'm recording some tunes like the American Tune by Paul Simon, and a song called Seriously by Sarah Bareilles, which is a really, it is political, and it's one of her lesser known tunes. It really resonates with me. And then some of my own tunes that are along that way. So I don't know if there's a market for that. I don't know if I care that there's a market for that, but I feel like that, and I did write some songs that are, again, kind of fall into that commercial piece with my female band, my women's band, She Grooves. I did a lot of songwriting for that group. So I don't know if those will come out. And then I have another set of songs that I just never did anything with that are very, I don't know, they're very commercial. I think there's a place for them for sure. So we'll see what the new year brings.
Yeah, that's great.
I appreciate the nod to that album, because I feel like, when you make an album, it's such a labor of love. It's such a huge thing, and you put it out into the world. And if you're not famous, which I'm not, it's done. And the next thing people ask you are, what's next? And I will be like, nothing is next. Just let this be. I just created this huge thing, and it's going to sit there for a couple of years and marinate. And just, and I don't have to write another album next. It's like having a baby. It's like, 9 months of work, and you create this thing that is you feel so attached to. So it's. I appreciate you listening to it again, and giving it a little shout out, because it was a big project for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm working on one now, and it's
out of it.
I'm a year into this record, and I've got like, sorry, I'm like a year into the new record, and I'm not close to being done. Like it's so hard when life just takes over, and especially when, like, this is, again, it's one piece of the pie, so I can't spend every waking second on this one piece of the pie anymore, and it is a labor of love, but yeah,
it's when you have that inspiration too, if you're working on a project like an album, and we can't always count on when the inspiration is going to come or not. And sometimes now, as we're older and we have so many responsibilities, that inspiration comes and we can't take advantage of it. I try. I've got notes in my notepad in my phone where I write down really great lyric lines that like come to me, and I don't have the time to put them into what I want to, but I just keep collecting them. I have a whole song in my notes. I just keep adding, like, this will be good for that. And I haven't actually sat at a piano yet to write it, but it's going to be awesome when I do. I'm sure of it.
Yeah. Well, I feel like if you're a writer, you got to write. And that's the most important thing of it, really. It's not even, I don't know. The whole thing's written, the record. So for me now, I think that's kind of why it's hard now, because it's just the work now. Now I've got to produce it and mix it and master it and all the stuff that's not artsy, more engineering and math, than
the not great part. I know a really good background singer for you.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
At some point, I'm going to need a producer for my next one. I don't want to produce my next one, so it can sound a little different than my writing. Also, I've never had a producer. I've never had a manager. Everything I've done alone. And at some point, it would be so nice just to be the artist.
Dude, tell me about it. I know. I'm only a producer out of necessity, because when I was really trying to do the songwriting thing hard, I had a bunch of co-writes, and I was the one that sort of had a makeshift studio. So I was producing all the demos basically, and not wanting to be a producer. But then I'm like, yeah, but these demos are being shopped. Like, so you better get better at what you're doing, because you're doing it, So like, I'm a reluctant, engineer, producer, whatever, and then you acquire gear. Oh, I've got a big guy coming over that I did so I better buy a microphone, and like slowly things just come together, and next thing you know, you're producing it. And it's not like I don't enjoy it, but in fact, I enjoy it a lot. And the better I got at it, because now all these things surrounding me, you can't see it really, but like, I've got keyboards on this side and guitars on that side, and all of that in the front. All these things are my instrument now, because I know it so well. So now it's just all flowing, and it's like, it doesn't bother me like it used to be like, how do I get this stupid program to work? And that just interrupts the creative flow. Now I've got the template all set out, everything's hooked up. I just turn everything on, and I'm ready to make music, which is,
But this is the growth that we see in each other as artists. Like, it's out of necessity, and those things all happen so gradually. You need one piece of equipment for this, and one piece of equipment for this, and you had one project that kicked your ass, and you had to learn one piece of software, and now you are where you are, and it just surrounds you. Like, I'm here. I can produce something, and it kind of just builds itself. It adds another piece to your pie.
Exactly.
A lot about pie in this podcast.
Yes, I'm kind of getting hungry. It's time I think I'll have some pie for breakfast. I don't know. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And the book is marvelous. I'm not a big reader. It did take me like 2 months to get through it, but it's not because it's not an easy read. So I'm not there's a reason. Like, I wanted to write a book. I probably told you this last time we were together, but like, I've been wanting to write a book forever, but I'm not a writer. I don't really read. So that's why I have a podcast. I was like, instead, I'm just going to get a podcast and have people tell their own stories. And and by the way, I'm in the book, so
That's why I
people
was gonna
should
interrupt
also.
you. Yeah, so your listeners should know that one chapter of this book is interviews. It's not a book about myself.
Mhm.
Definitely not. There's all kinds of things in there, but one particular chapter is on artists and how artists live. And Eric was interviewed for that, as well as a background singer for James Taylor, photographers, a Broadway dancer. I tried to really get a gamut of different types of creative people and ask them similar questions like, what would you tell yourself, your 18-year-old self? And tell me a little bit about your story. And that piece of the book was really meant to show artists that there is an arc to one's career. You know, you don't cross some finish line where everything happens at once. It really does come together slowly and then fast and slow and fast. There's bumps. It's a messy path. And that is, if we set young artists up with that expectation, they are going to be mentally healthier and they're going to be able to create more sustainable careers, knowing that this is just the expectation. Again, if I can use the metaphor for accountants, like it's not, you don't graduate, get your degree, and it's not a straight A to B. Our A goes up, down, roller coaster, all over the place. You know, we are all over the place. So that chapter, and Eric you gave me such a great interview for that. I really enjoyed interviewing you and putting that together for the book. So if you're listening and you're a fan of Eric Baines, you definitely
buy the book.
You should check out Eric's interview. Yep, you have to buy it. It's not online. Sorry.
But like my wife reads a lot. She loves having a book in her hands. So there's a lot of those people too.
Yeah, and it is a quick book. I wrote it for college students that don't like to read. So there's a lot.
And there's like exercises. There's a sort of a piece of it's pie that's a workbook. Exactly.
Yeah, every chapter has some exercises at the end of it that are more reflective or practice in nature.
Wow. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
And we got to write it. We'll write a song. We're going to do this. It's going to happen.
Now you got me all thinking like about putting my album together. So I definitely, it's always
the book is done.
Right? Yeah. So now we pretty much have to write something.
Right.
We're saying it right here publicly.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
It's now been said.
It's going to be awesome. Okay, well, you're off after you're done, right? Don't you? Do you have a little bit of time off? Like
I have some time, but I actually have some big things going on. Like I'm going to go to my first conference and try to sell my book, and I have some.
Very cool, very cool.
Stuff. So,
we'll get it in there somewhere.
Yeah, we will. Don't worry. Well, thank you, Eric, for having me on. I appreciate it, and it's so great to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was awesome. It was so good to talk to her. We don't see each other all that often, but it's, now with technology, then we get to communicate more and it's so much fun. And the book is great. Please check it out. And, I will say we kind of got into the weeds a bit on some things and it gets dark when you start to scratch the surface, because I think that might be the nature of the music business right now. But I will say I am doing what I want to do right now, and I'm doing what I love, and it eventually worked out. But it did take a lot of years of, somewhat being miserable. And that's one of the things that they don't tell you before you become a musician by trade, is that it turns the thing that brings you joy in life into a job, and it takes away some choices, and listening to records, even it becomes what I have to do because I'm learning material for my next gig, instead of, oh, I can't wait to listen to this record because it brings me joy. And it burns you out in the sense that now when I have free time, I was really big into talk radio. I'm really big into podcasts. You don't want to hear music. You just get burnt out. And so you lose a little bit of joy that comes from doing what you love to do. All I can say to that is after 34 years, I've kept pushing through, partly because of necessity and just my absolute unwillingness to do anything else. And I don't know, the burning drive, the desire to do this that I can't get rid of. But I've gotten to the other side of it, to where I really enjoy it again. And I love listening to music now, once again. And I love making music most of all. So it's a tricky one. It's a tricky business. That's something that I don't think I realized until I was probably a good year and a half, 2 years in, when I'm like, oh man, I don't want to hear a single song right now. So anyways, it was a great conversation. I hope you enjoyed it. Solfege is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, which, popularized by The Sound of Music. But it's a very deep sort of way of approaching music, because you have what I was talking about in the interview was you have fees and may and like all the in-between notes, they have syllables as well. So, and you also have two different types. You have a fixed do, where do is always middle C, or you have movable do, which we use at Berklee and in America mostly, wherever the tonal center is, whatever the key you're in is, that's where do goes. Subbing out is something I had to get used to when I got to LA, because it's sort of a necessity, in my opinion, if you're going to be working on a higher level, because these gigs come when they come, and you've got to be working in between. So in bigger cities where there's lots of musicians, if something happens and a better gig comes up, you're going to sub it out. I don't want to leave people hanging ever. I'll always send a sub and somebody competent, because I also used to say that you're only as good as your sub. So you don't want to send somebody to screw up the gig, because then you won't have that gig again. So, but it gets stressful for the band leaders, and some people don't understand that, and some people just don't want to do it. Some people are very accommodating. They're just happy to have good players, and when you sub out, they get new phone numbers and stuff. So it can be appreciated, it can be hated. So you have to kind of know who you're working for and deal with that. But that's subbing. And if you don't know what a photomat is, look it up. I use that analogy a lot, that I own a photomat and then nobody uses film anymore. But I think a lot of young people don't know what a photomat is. It was a place you'd drive up and, get your film developed. I would say Google it. It's a rabbit hole I'm not wanting to go down. It makes me feel old. So anyways, thank you for listening to the show. Check out my new single, Lonely Places, that comes out January 20th on all the streaming platforms. Follow me on TikTok, Eric Baines Bass on Instagram. And once again, just thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of my journey, and I'm happy to be a part of yours. So I will talk at you on the next one. I'm a dive bar rock star. Wow, you've made it to the end. I'm hoping it's because you completely enjoyed yourself and are now filled with knowledge and inspiration to move forward with your dreams. If that is the case, and you would like to stay informed of new episodes, live events, and general news, please go to divebarrockstar.com and sign up for the mailing list. If you have any questions, comments, corrections, or complaints about anything you hear on the show, please email me at fanmail@divebarrockstar.com, and you may even end up on the show. We at the Dive Bar Rockstar podcast, with all of our hearts, thank you for listening, and remember, it's all about dreams.